Okay, we are live on Facebook and we are live on YouTube. What's up, everybody? My name is Mark Burrick and I am with Better at Beach Volleyball. Today we've got Christoph Dressler from Austria, FIVB player, multiple time champion, and he is also getting his PhD in performance psychology. And so he's developing on the side, we're talking on the side about some mental training, mindset training, and he may or may not come on board with Better at Beach and run some courses for us. But either way, if you need help with your mindset, your mental training, and anything sports psychology, he is an absolute must follow. So get engaged with him, and he's developing programs as we speak. So I hope you go and you follow him and you enjoy the things that he has to offer. Today, we have a quick 19-minute video analysis. So if you're listening on our podcast, I want you to head on over to the Better at Beach YouTube channel. You'll actually be able to see the film that we are talking about. And as far as quick announcements go, we've got some upcoming camps that I want you to know about. So January 17th, we've got 3 or 4 spots left for January 17th in St. Petersburg, Florida. That's actually at my Airbnb in Florida. So we've got a little private volleyball court. It's only a 10-person camp. And like I said, we've got 3 spots left. January 24th, we're going to be in Grand Sands in Loveland, Ohio. And we've got a 10-person women's AAA in St. Pete, Florida. So January 24th, ladies, AAA players, if you want to come hang out in Florida, in St. Petersburg for 3 days, you are welcome. February 14th and 15th, I'm headed back to Salt Lake City for an all-levels 2-day camp. And in March, we've got Ozark, Missouri for all levels, March 7th to 9th. And March 14th to 16th, we're going to be in New Orleans, as well as the 21st to the 23rd in Long Island, New York. And finally, we're going to Vegas, baby. March 28th to 30th. If you want to come to Las Vegas, Nevada, we have got a 3-day camp for all levels at Sunset Park in Las Vegas. So you can find all of that at betterbeach.com/camps. That's all from me. Christoph, we were talking off camera about, you said that you had a 4-step process for a serve routine for getting into the right mindset, getting your best serve. So just jumping right in, could you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. First of all, thanks for the very nice intro, Mark. Yeah, nice to be here again. So, yeah, about the serve. The good thing about this serve is that's something where you're uninterrupted. Yeah, it's an element in beach volleyball where it's really just about you. Yeah, so in passing or setting or attack, there's always some interference, but in serve, you have the time actually to create a ritual. Yeah, uh, a ritual which is like every time the same, and the more often you do it, the more it gets automatized. Yeah, that's a huge advantage because the more it's automatized, the more stable and secure your serve will also get. And yeah, there usually comes. It's good to have some basics understanding. Yeah, also about your brain and your psychology, but I will dive right into the 4 steps so that you can directly try it. Yeah. So the most important thing about your brain would be to know it's a it's an unbelievable supercomputer. Yeah. For your brain, it's easy to compute to put the ball right on the line or like exactly on one spot. For your brain, it's not a difficult task. The difficult task is more to regulate yourself into a state where you're able to perform this task. Yeah. So, and with this, a ritual and self-regulation helps. So, and the 4 steps would be like this. The first one would be to exactly look and define the position where you want to serve. You really need to look there because your eyes are kind of giving a signal to the brain. And there are studies showing the last moment where your eyes look at in basketball or also in volleyball, that's where your hit or shot is going to end. Yeah. So
Interesting.
that's why you want to have it.
I bet like the
Yeah.
immediate argument is, oh, if I look where I'm gonna serve every time, then I'm gonna give it away. But then my
Yes.
counter to that is, dude, everyone knows who you're serving anyway. Like we pick one target, that guy knows he's getting served the whole game. So I wouldn't stress on that over your accuracy, like getting a good serve. But yeah, that's interesting because everybody's gonna be like, I'm gonna look where I serve every time. I want to
Mm,
surprise
yes. Yeah. This you can counteract. Mm, it's enough if you look there once and then you can look to a different spot. Yeah.
them.
Or you can fairly, you just need to give at least an internal signal. Yeah. So just an internal signal within yourself. Okay, that's the spot. Yeah. You just need to define it. Mm, um, the second step, yeah, you go more into um, you go the task is to go into a state like you feel like you have already served there. So you need to give your brain the signal you have already successfully served there, not I am going to. So
Mm.
you want to feel and go into a state like you have already done this. That's that's the second step. Yeah.
I
And
like
yeah, because if you're kind of giving your brain is quite a precise instrument. Yeah. So if you tell it, I will try to serve there, you will do this. You will try and trying incorporates mistakes. Yeah. But no, you want to give yourself the signal, I have already done this. Yeah. It should feel stable within yourself. Yeah. And of course, it needs exercise. Yeah. But if you exercise with this intention, you become more efficient.
So
So
it's like if I'm squatting a heavier weight than I've ever squatted before, instead of saying I'm going to get this up, it's kind of like the feeling, well, when bros scream out like lightweight, like you're already
yeah.
saying this is easy. I've done it. I have already completed this task. And I guess that goes into like the visualization that you practice off the court as well, when the
Hmm.
experts tell you visualize yourself from the outside performing skills successfully before you step on the court, and then visualize yourself now being the first person and feel what it's like to have that done successfully, even before you get on the court. So it makes total sense that you would do that right before the serve and then see yourself, feel yourself having already done it.
Yeah. And the good thing is, this exercise you can do in two ways. You can do it literally on the court, which I would recommend doing 2 to 3 times per week, like for 10 to 20 repetitions. Um, and always follow the 4 steps. And you can also do it laying at home in bed. Yeah, just going through the 4 steps. Both will reinforce this pattern. So also when you just visualize, you will create neural connections in your brain, which strengthen your serve. Yeah. Um, yeah. So okay,
I
first
think
step, define
I
the
think one
spot.
important thing for some people to realize is that when you visualize and you do those mental routines, you're actually building true neural connections that work
Yeah.
for you when you do it physically. And so there's a structural and physiological change in your brain and in your nervous system connecting to your muscles that helps develop patterns when you actually visualize. But people think it's just a mind thing, but it's a mind muscle connection where, like you said, you're building actual synapses when you're doing this. So it's not just like kind of hocus pocus, oh, believe in it, it's you're building true pathways. And they did that experiment with basketball players where they had people visualize themselves making a shot and shoot, Then they had players who only shot, and they had players who visualized making the shot, but they didn't practice. And the practice plus visualization beat everybody over a large percentage. And the people who visualized beat the people who didn't. Right. So, like, even without practicing, they became better at shooting basketball by imagining themselves and going through a mental routine to get it in. So, a pretty crazy and another study like there that just backs this up and supports it.
Yeah, yeah, and these studies were often successfully repeated. Yeah, so there's really hard evidence confirming this. Yeah, so yeah,
So, step
um,
3.
yeah. So step three uh, would be this is where your ritual comes in. Yeah. So the first steps are kind of internal, defining the spot, going into a state. I have already done this, and then comes something manual, an act. For example, like you spin the ball 3 times, or you throw it up and catch it, or you clap on it once. So some ritual, yeah. The the same. It should be easy and quick, yeah, which kind of brings you more into the state. Yeah, I have already done this. Yeah, this ritual, this routine should just confirm this. Yeah, and mm, in the fourth step, mm, here I always bring an analogy. So when archers, yeah, especially in Japan, that's how they teach bow and arrow. Yeah, so when you shoot an arrow at the target, uh, first you define where it should go, yeah. Then you pull the tension, and you actually don't actively release, yeah. It's kind of you let it happen,
Mm.
yeah. In the fourth step, you really want to go out of your thinking mind. You want to in the first 3 steps, you're building up clearly this intention of having served there. In the fourth step, there comes this moment shortly before you hit the ball where you need to let it go, because the most efficient you're not when you're thinking every movement through in a hit. No, it's actually when you let it happen, when you let your body do what it can do. Yeah, and that's why and where you also need practice.
That's got to
This
be the
would
hardest part.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, not. You ever see
yeah,
that movie where he's like, no, 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 you're trying too hard. You're trying too hard. Like, do less, do nothing. And he's trying to teach him how to surf. And he's just laying on a
yeah,
surfboard. Now you're not doing anything. Like, it's
yeah,
so hard to try to do something, but not try to do it.
yeah, yeah. This is also often quoted in movies. Yeah, this
Mhm.
let it happen, or however you want to say it. Um, and that's also the task. Yeah, I think this is what often makes the difference if you become good at something, or if you exceed all expectations. Yeah, when you are able to exit the thinking mind, because after everything I know, thinking in sports, like actively thinking,
Mm.
and a lot of thinking is counterproductive. Yeah, because um, you come into a certain brainwave activity, which is called the beta activity, like quite high activity, and
Mm.
this can inhibit your fine motor performance. You want to be able to down regulate to slower wave patterns. They're called alpha brainwave patterns. And that's where flow states and optimal performance often takes place. At this gap between beta to alpha. So,
So
yeah.
it's interesting to me. So I talked to John Mayer a lot on an old episode of this podcast. He's a coaching expert, loves data, loves science, and he also JM Plummer, one of our Better at Beach coaches, became one of their students. And introduced me to something I had unconsciously been doing, but also helped me stop doing totally as a coach. And it was having people think about what their body is doing. You know, when we coach, they call it basically like internal coaching. Like, are you thinking about the fact that your elbows are straight, or the fact that like I need to get my elbow back in order to serve well? Yeah, you have to know what that looks like. But if you're doing that while trying to perform the skill, and that's your main focus, focusing on something inside your body that's mechanically connecting to hope to do, to hope to get the outcome, you're actually less likely over time to do that. So instead, we either impose restrictions or bonuses, and then the focus, like you said, becomes external. So all of your feedback, your 4 steps to locking in your serve, at no point did you talk about a technical part like getting your elbow back, throwing your hips through, reaching high, any of that. Everything was externally focused. And so these studies that you're talking about in this process is also backing up how I'm trying to help coaches coach and say, like, please stop trying to get people to think about their individual body parts and what they're doing while you're giving an external goal for them. You know, like if you want them to hit harder, you're not going to constantly have them focus on what their hand shape is. Okay, give them that information, but then pick something external, like, okay, you've got to break a glass wall in the middle of the court, as opposed to move your arm faster. Like that's an external versus an internal. And I think that's on par with what you're saying and teaching here.
Yeah. Yeah, this makes a lot of sense. I like this school of thought, yeah, what you're teaching here. I
Have you ever
could
read The
maybe
Language
add,
of Coaching?
sorry,
The Language of
the
Coaching?
language of coaching.
Yeah, I think
Uh,
I'm getting that title right.
yeah. No, but I should check it. Yeah,
It's
sounds
yeah. So it's I've been reading this book. It's The Language of Coaching: The Art and Science of Teaching Movement, and
yeah,
it is like exactly on par with what you're saying, for just basically getting a serve in and consistent.
yeah. Hmm. Yeah, I have to read it. Sounds very interesting. Maybe one thing I can add from my experience, uh, how we always used to learn, and then we can see, okay, if it made sense. But usually it was like this that in our preseason, so when we knew, okay, we have now 3 months time, yeah, uh, then our coaches gave us technical instructions. Yeah, we were talking about how to how to receive. Yeah, then we had maybe some time to work on the swing. Yeah, where I was watching more on my body movement or to reach the ball really high. Um, but I think there comes a period, and I typically say at least 3 weeks before your first competition, where I would strongly advise to stop worrying about your technique. Yeah, because it will then not be the deciding factor anymore. And I think you don't have time. I think then it's really about the result. Yeah,
Mm.
so that you're able to score in very fast and unpredictable movement patterns. Yeah, you don't know what the opponent will do. Yeah, and you need to be fast. And I think you cannot think, okay, I need to do everything with perfect technique. Yeah,
Yeah,
because I
I've got
don't.
into
I
that
think
as a
it's an
defender.
important factor.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Like as a defender, there was a period of time where I was
Yeah.
working on my sprint and chase mechanics, and I was worried with like how my legs would look if I was using an open step or a crossover step to start. And the more I thought about that in game situations, the slower I was. I was so focused on having a perfect start that my body and my brain weren't even free enough to read what was happening in the play. You know, so as opposed to, okay, get it in training and then forget about what your body's doing. Hopefully, you locked it in during training and it's become a movement pattern for you. It's built into your nervous system. But if now you're trying to fix a technique during play, you're going down the wrong path.
Yeah, yeah, yes, yeah. Mm. And I think it's so complex that maybe it's even not even beneficial doing everything with the perfect technique, because sometimes you maybe just need to play it lower, yeah, or whatever, yeah.
Yep.
So I think it's good to learn it in your preseason, but then when you play, yeah, and play freely. Yeah.
Yeah. And find games or something external to make you do the technique instead of making the goal do the technique. Set some type, like if you want to reach high, okay,
Mhm.
for a little while, put tie a rope, 6 inches higher on the net. Get yourself to be able to hit that ball instead of thinking I have to reach high, I have to get my arm up. Think, how do I hit
Yeah,
down over this rope?
yeah,
Okay. Then you've got like an external thing that's encouraging the proper technique instead of thinking about your individual body parts. And we even do that with passing. We put big balloons under people's shirts, and then I'll tell them to build their platform. I say, do not let your
Hmm.
arms touch the balloon. Like if you
Hmm.
touch the balloon, you pop it. And that's it. So they're not really thinking about their arms, they're just creating some space. And then I don't need to tell them to keep their elbows straight or anything like that. Or like get your hips back. Like that's another way to say put your shoulders forward and your hip back and your hips back. But you just gave them a tool where they're forced to do it.
Yeah, yeah, I like it a lot, and I think it's exactly where coaching is going at this moment, to
It
put
should go.
these external keys. And I also feel like it's easier, yeah, especially this exercise which you said, okay, where you hit over the high net,
Mm,
this makes you do the right thing. Yeah, I
yeah.
also think you learn faster this way. Yeah.
Have you read The Inner Game of Tennis?
Ah, yes, yes, long, long time ago. Yeah,
Yeah,
with
it was written in like the 70s or something. But
yeah,
all the lessons that he learned were exactly what like the science is backing up right now, where he
mhm,
said like I stopped myself from talking and I would just show. Like I would only show the technique, and I decided to like take a few weeks to not talk while coaching. And he's like, I was getting better results from my athletes instead of telling them how to roll their wrist over or start from low to high or fix your arm or anything. And like just by creating visual demonstrations and having them repeat without words, he was becoming more successful than he was when he was like having a 5 minute discussion on what their arm and wrist were doing through a swing. You know?
yeah. Yeah, and I think for me a main reason is this the danger if you explain and talk too much, if you overload with information, you kind of put your athletes in the thinking mode. And that's actually where you not want to have them. Yeah. You want them be present and yeah, engaged yeah, in what's actually happening. Because yeah, I think your thinking mode is just too slow for a fast paced sport. And but unfortunately thinking about everything is very engraved in our society. Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, so that's what you kind of need to learn as an athlete to find this off switch. Yeah, where you are engaged in what's actually happening.
Yeah. Well, hey, I know that this one is short, so this is probably going to be a great episode for people to just put on their way to the gym or on their way to practice. And if you guys enjoyed it, go ahead and share it. It's going to be on YouTube. It's going to be on our podcast as well. We're going to get into our complete beach volleyball blueprint meeting with our members. And if Christoph decides to join us there, then we'll have a little Q&A and even talk more about some mental training. But we're headed out. I got to go work with our members. If you guys want to come to a camp, betteratbeach.com/camps. If you want to join our full program with workouts, we have our own little mindset training program in there, as well as all of our skill courses. You can head over to betteratbeach.com/coaching. And of course, you need to follow Christoph Dressler, because I think off camera I just convinced him to share all of his knowledge as much as he can online, having to do with his expertise. And, it comes from a true actual champion. So he's put his money where his mouth is going to be. So, Christoph, I want to thank you. I appreciate your time coming again. Sorry that our off-camera talk ran a little bit long, and this is a short one, but bite size is nice for the audience sometimes.
Okay, yeah, thanks so much for having me. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Yeah, hope to come again.
Cool. Just when we get off camera, could you leave your computer open and on for a little bit, because our software takes a little bit of time to pull data from your computer. Not
Okay,
only
of course.
for the upload quality.
Yeah, yeah, no worries. Yeah, and we can talk about the next steps.
Definitely. All right. So for me, from Christoph, from everybody here at Better at Beach, thank you guys for listening and or watching, and we will see you on the sand.